Hi, this is Sudhir and this is ADO.NET Connected Architecture Insert tutorial. In this tutorial, I'll explain you how to insert data from a web page to the SQL Server database table using ADO.NET Connected Architecture. So here I have listed some of the steps which you have to follow to insert data into SQL Server database using Connected Architecture. First, you have to go to SQL Server to create an SQL table. Then followed by test the data insert in SQL Server. You have to write some insert command and test the insertion whether it's happening correctly in SQL Server. After that, you have to open Visual Studio to create a web page and the UI required to insert some data from the web page, followed by writing some ADO.NET code to insert data. Then if the successfully data is inserted, then you have to go to SQL Server and you have to test whether the data is inserted correctly into database or not. So you have to follow these 5 steps to check whether the connected architecture insert is working or not. So let's go to the first step of creating a table. Here in this example, I'm going to show you how to create a table in this format. So this is a table with 6 columns. One is AID, which is admin ID, which is an automatic generated. That means you are not going to insert ID automatically. When you insert username, password, email ID, phone number of a user, automatically 2 things will be inserted to the table. That is, AID is automatically generated and SQL Server insert command will insert created time automatically based on the time which is present in the server when you are inserting the data. That means from the UI you are going to give username, password, email ID and phone number. So next, the text data insert in SQL Server. After that, after creation, you have to write some SQL command and you have to insert the data into SQL Server. Followed by, then the third step is you have to design the UI. You have to go to web page and you have to design this type of UI which contains username, password, confirm password, email ID and phone number. And you have to click on sign up so that this data will be inserted into the database. And finally, you have to write some code in this sign up button. You have to write some code and that code will help you to insert data into SQL database, and that should be an ADO.NET code. Okay, let's go to the demo and fill these slides with the code. The first step is go to the SQL Server and you have to create a table. Now I'm going to use an SQL command to create a table, which is create a table name. I'm going to name it as table admin. And the columns I'm going to have is AID of data type int. This is admin ID for me. It is int data type. And I'm going to use identity as a keyword to automatically generate the IDs which is not inserted from the UI. And I'm going to add one more constraint called key, primary key. It's a primary key which is going to take only unique and not null values. This is my first column. The second column is going to be username with the data type as varchar of 50. It's going to take 50 characters. Every column should be divided by comma. Third column is password, the varchar of 50. The next column in the UI is going to be confirm password, but we are not going to use a column called confirm password because both password and confirm password is same. So same as they are same, we are going to store only one value in the database. The next column is going to be email ID, which is again a varchar of 50, comma, and next is a phone number, which is a varchar of 50. I'm going to take varchar of 50 because it's an example. I'm going to take varchar of 50 for everything, followed by created time, which is a column which I use to know the time when it is inserted. The column data type is date time. So this is a create command which is used to create a table or table admin with these columns. And I click on execute to check it's successfully executed. That means that table is created. In the tables of ADO examples database, I can refresh it. You can see I've created this table in this ADO examples database. The drop down is selected as ADO examples. So database table will be created in that database. You can see I'll zoom in. In this ADO examples database, you can see TBL admin with some columns. This is what I've created: AID, username, password, email ID, phone number, and created time with this data types. I'm going to zoom out. So this first step is done. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste this in the slide in my first step. See, this is the query to create that about table. TBL admin is my table name, AID, which is int identity automatic generation, username, password, email ID, phone number, and create time is correct. Now I'm moving on to my next step, test data insert in SQL Server. I have to insert some data into my table. So again, I'll move on to my SQL Server to write one more command here, that is an insert into my table values. I want to insert some data into that is first is going to be, it's not AID, it is username. I'm going to give the admin name as Sudhir followed by some password ABC. As it's of varchar type, I have to give that in single quotes, followed by email ID, which is sudhir@gmail.com. I'm going to close this properties. Email ID followed by phone number 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, and created time. For created time, I'm going to use get date, which is an inbuilt SQL method which is going to bring the current date time of the SQL server. I'm going to highlight this before that. So you can see this is the insert command. I have to highlight this. If I execute this, this data will be inserted into the about table called TBL admin. I'm going to execute it. You can see one row affected, which means the data is inserted into that. I'll use one more command here, select star from TBL admin to check the data. I'm going to select this line and execute to see the data. You can see the data is inserted. So the ABC, sudhir@gmail.com phone number and current date time is inserted. At the same time, automatically 1 is the first ID generated. Automatically ID will be inserted like that. These two commands I'm going to paste in my step 2. So done with the test 2. Step 2, test data insert in SQL Server. I have tested it, it's working fine. This is the command. Next, moving on for designing UI. I have to create the UI, this one. For this, I have to use my Visual Studio. So I'll be opening my Visual Studio. I'm going to create a new project for this. So I'm going to select ASP.NET Web Application with the Visual C# as the language. I'm going to select ASP.NET Web Application. And the project name is ADO Connected Insert. I'm going to click on OK with the selection of template as empty, so that an empty template is selected. An empty web application is created. In the Solution Explorer, there are no web pages. I'm going to create my first web page by simply right click on the project name, add new item. I'm going to select web form and the name of that is webform.aspx. That's a default name and I'm going to leave it like that. I simply click on add. You can see this is my webform.aspx, which is a blank web page. In that, I'm going to design a table first so that I'm going to get a better UI. I'm going to see, I clicked on table at the top menu and I clicked on insert table. I want 8 rows, 4 columns. I'm going to click on OK. Then I'm going to name it as a sign up page, because this insertion page looks like a sign up page, and the fields required are username, password, confirm password, email ID, phone number. So these are the fields which I have to insert into the table, and I need some text boxes here. For that I'm going to drag and drop some text boxes. I have text box here which I'm going to drag and drop into the third column. I'm going to drag and drop multiple text box: username text box, password text box, confirm password is a text box, email ID they'll enter in a text box, and also the phone number. These all are text boxes. For every text box you can see the ID is in the properties. You can see the ID will be, shortcut is F4 for properties. ID for every control by default is going to be text box 1, text box 2, like that. I want to change it so that I can work with that easily in the code. TXT username is the first one. Second text box ID is going to be TXT password. Third text box ID is going to be TXT confirm password, CFPWD I'm giving here. For email ID it is TXT email ID. For phone number it's going to be TXT phone number. So I have named all the controls. You can see TXT username, TXT password, confirm password, email ID and phone number. I'm going to drag and drop a button here to name its text as sign up, because it's an insert, it's like a registration and it is a sign up for me, and I'll name it as BTN sign up as its ID. Now the design part is completed, which is looks same like what I have shown in your slides: username, password, confirm password, email ID and phone number. Now it's time for go to the next step, which is ADO.NET code to insert data. So you have to double click on this sign up button to enter into the C# code file in which we have to write our sign up code. So first thing you have to do is you have to have a connection string which have all the details of server and database in which you have to insert the data. Next you should have a command which is insert in our case, which will help you to insert data into SQL Server. Next, as it's a connected architecture, you have to open connection, you have to execute the command followed by close connection. So this is the format. These 5 steps you have to follow in this button. First, the connection string has to be defined in which details of server and DB are there. Next, you have to write insert command. As it's a connected architecture, you have to open the connection, execute the command of insert, that is insertion is done successfully, then your responsibility is to close the connection. So let's do one by one. So SQL connection string is written like this: SQL connection is con is the object name, SQL connection is the class name, equal to new SQL connection. This is the syntax of creating an object for SQL connection class, and in this double quotes you have to add your connection string. SQL connection class is from using system.data.sql client namespace. You have to add it just by resolve. You can add it. You can see this is added at the top. In this you have to write a connection string where I'll be using automatic generation of connection, which you can work on. Control plus Alt plus S is shortcut for Server Explorer. Shortcut is control. You have to press on control plus Alt key plus yes. If you type that, you will see this Server Explorer will be open. Right click on the data connections and you have to add a connection. This is a process of automatically generating the connection string, which you can paste it directly in the code without writing the code manually. Click on add connection after right clicking on the data connections. You have to enter the server name, which is your SQL server name. Go to your SQL server, click on connect database engine to have your server name. This is your SQL server name. Every time you will see this when you are trying to connect to your SQL server. So this time you have to give this, and you have to remember it's a Windows authentication. Copy paste this code into the server name and make sure that you are selecting the same authentication. Now you have to select your database name. In my case, it's edu examples. Whatever the database name you have to select that. You can check the connection, you can test the connection, you can see it succeeded. That means SQL Server is ready with that database. Click on OK. Now you can see the connection string. This is created in the properties of the connection. You can see your property called connection string. Just you have to double click, copy, and you have to paste that in this double quotes. That's your connection string. You can see this connection string contains some values. Make sure that you are writing @ in front of it so that to escape from the double slashes. Now the data source is the first property which contains your server name. This is your server name. Followed by next property is initial catalog. Initial catalog is your database name, and your database name is edu examples. And finally you have one more property called integrated security equal to true, which says that you are using Windows authentication. If you are using SQL authentication, instead of integrated security of equal to true, you will get user ID and password, which you'll use for SQL authentication. So this is an this is a Windows authentication connection string. So with these connections details, you can automatically connect to your database server, enter into the database, and you can insert some data. That is the reason why you have given your connection string details here. Next you have to write some command. Using SQL command class is there, create object for that. New SQL command in the brackets. In the double quotes you have to write the command followed by the connection object. Already you have created connection object. You have to write the same here. In the double quotes you have to write your insert command. Already I have written some insert command. You have to get that from there. It is recommended to a tested SQL command has to be copied and has to be pasted in this double quotes, and they should come in a single line. I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to increase the font size to 150. You can see this is the SQL command. Insert into table name values. So there ABC, this value, get date, it is there. So what happens is when someone clicks on the click button using this connection string, connection will be opened to the server. Then this insert command will be executed. How means con.open is the method to open the connection. And below that I'll write con.close at the bottom of this comment. Con.close. This line should be con.close is for closing of the connection, semicolon. So this is to open the connection, this is to close the connection. In between you have to execute the command. This command is insert into table name values directly. Some static values are there which you shouldn't use directly. Some static values are there. Always Sudhir will be inserted if you are clicking on this. Instead of that you have to rename this Sudhir with some text box.text which user has given. So remove this. Use double quotes there. That means you are dividing this string into two parts. This is the first part of the string which is gone as it is to the server. This is the second part which will be given directly to the server. In between you can write some C# code by just using ++ to concatenate some text in that. txt username.text. That means in this SQL command you are embedding or concatenating some text value inside the text box using ++. Same way, instead of ABC you have to remove that, keep double quotes 2 times, double plus 2 times, and you have to write txt password.text. So confirm password is not required. What we require is gmail.com, which is an email ID text box. Double quotes ++ txt email ID.text. So instead of this phone number, remove it, keep double quotes 2 times. Inside that double plus 2 times and txt email ID dot text. Oh, email ID txt phone number dot text. and get date is as it is because it's an SQL command, so we are going to insert the date time using get date. So this insert command will insert the table, insert data into the table. Next, one more thing is CMD command has to be executed finally. We use execute non-query is a method which is used for to insert data into tbl underscore admin table. You can see insert into tbl underscore admin values are given, so it will insert into tbl admin table. If you want, you can use the return type of this command execute non-query is int, so you can store the values returning from that into int. If I is greater than 0, that means if at least one row is inserted, it will give a value into that. You can show some message on the label. Before that, you have to place a label here. So I'm going to use one label, which is a label 1, which I'm going to rename it as ID as LBL MSG. Text I want to make it empty, that nothing should be displayed as soon as sign up is successful. When the sign up is successful, if I is greater than 0, LBL message my new label dot text equal to successfully inserted. I want to give inserted. So this is always going to be. So you can see sign up is going to have a connection string. Once again, I'm going to repeat that. First, sign up is going to have a connection string followed by command. Connection is opened, it's executed and closed. The value insert I can be used to know whether it's successfully inserted or not. I'm going to see the output now. So this is a web page design we have. When I click on sign up, all the details entered here has to be inserted into tbl admin. Before that, once I'll go to my SQL server to check my data again, I'm going to execute my select command. The data is this. I'm going to enter some new values. Raj, password is RAABC. I haven't kept it as password in a hidden format. It is displaying. For now, let it be like that. Password and confirm password is same. Email ID raj@gmail.com. Phone number all 8s 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 8s. When click on sign up, you can see it successfully insert messages there. That means the state of all the fields are taken and inserted into my SQL Server table. I have to go to my SQL Server table and I have to check this line again. Click on select star from tbl admin. You can see the data is inserted with the current time, phone number, email ID, password and Raj with the newly updated ID as 2, the second row. Automatically everything is executed. This is a new table. So sign up is successfully executed and the code is this, which is going to have a connection string and command is this one. You can see this is the connection string and this is the command where connection string contains the server details, database name and security, it's Windows or SQL authentication. Command contains insert command, which is an SQL command with a combination of C# code which takes text box values along with the SQL command and it's going to insert it into the SQL server. And I'm going to add one more duplicate slide and I'm going to remove this because we have some more code in ADO.NET. After this, you have to open the connection, have to execute it, to close the connection. This part, I'm going to add it here. You can see con.open is the method to open the connection. Execute non-query is used to execute the command, and con.close is used to close the connection. After that, you can send message using the value which is written by execute non-query. So this is how we can insert data with ADO.NET using connected architecture. Thank you.